On Monday Night Football, the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Raiders 30-29. Shout out to Kansas City, man. They were down 17-0. They came back and won. Patrick Mahomes had a great game. Kansas City tight end Travis Kelce went off. He had 7 catches for only 25 yards, but 4 touchdown catches on the goal line. My girlfriend's brother was losing fantasy football going into the Monday night game. He has Patrick Mahomes and he has Travis Kelce on his team. I would imagine he walked away from Monday Night Football very happy, having won fantasy football. Travis Kelce, not a lot of yards, a lot of production on the goal line, 4 touchdowns. Casey is now 4-1. And the inverse is true about the Las Vegas Raiders. They are now 1-4 to start the year. And I swear, this team is like allergic to winning. It's almost like the Raiders don't want to win games. For example, Travis Kelce, we talked about it a lot already, had 4 touchdowns on the goal line last night. And after the first 3 touchdowns on the goal line, you would think they'd go, hey, on the goal line, we got to pay extra attention to this guy. He's killing us. But nah, you know what the Raiders did? On his 4th touchdown, the Raiders said, we're actually just not going to guard him. We're going to leave Travis Kelce wide open on the goal line somehow for his 4th touchdown. Like, how does that happen? Are you kidding me? It's weird little mistakes that are killing the Raiders right now. You know, before leading to that touchdown, by the way, the Raiders had stopped KC on 3rd down. Had him stopped, then KC kicked a field goal and missed. It was a tremendous victory for the Raiders. They're down 24-23 with the ball, and they stopped Kansas City's offense. But wait a minute. Guess what? The Raiders got called for defensive holding on a field goal. Like, what? You were holding on a field goal? And there's some technique. It's like a pull and shoot kind of thing. I don't know. It's just stupid. Like, what are you doing? I don't understand, man. It's a dumb penalty. The penalty gave Kansas City a 1st and 10, led to another touchdown. Basically, it went from a stop and 0 points to Vegas handing Kansas City a touchdown. Then on the next drive, Derek Carr responds. He throws a beautiful touchdown. He's stepping up in the pocket on the run, throws a long touchdown to Davante Adams down the middle. Davante Adams beats double coverage. It was beautiful. And I'm sitting at home going, awesome, amazing. It's going to be a tie game, 30-30. And no, the Raiders decided to go for 2. And, man, I have defended teams in the past for going for 2. Like, for example, when Baltimore was playing the Buffalo Bills earlier this year, inside the 2-minute warning, they go for 2 to try to get the win, and they missed it. And that stinks, but I get it. Like, you don't want to go to overtime with Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's not any fun. And if it was inside the 2-minute warning, I would have defended this move, actually. I would have said, you know what? Fair enough. You know what? I don't want to go. I would rather lead 31-30 than risk overtime against Patrick Mahomes, because you're not guaranteed to get the ball back. So inside 2 minutes, I would have understood. Here's the problem. There was 4.5 minutes left in the game, and the Raiders went for 2 to try to take a 31-30 lead. They didn't get it, by the way, so Kansas City held the lead 30-29, instead of it being a tie game 30-30. And the Raiders did actually get the ball back. They got the ball back with 2 minutes and 29 seconds left. Plenty of time to put together a drive. However, now they were down by 1 point. There's added pressure. And on Monday Night Football, the Raiders just repeatedly made their lives more difficult for some reason. They're 1-4. It's been a bad start to the year. Bad start to the Josh McDaniels era in Vegas. And all 3 losses, by the way, all 4 losses have been by 1 score. They've lost by a combined 14 points this year. Close game after close game, one of them in overtime. And it's almost more painful that the Raiders have been so close to winning so many times. It's just they keep finding new ways to lose football games. And things are pretty dang bad in Denver with Nathaniel Hackett, the new head coach there. It's not that bad in Vegas. Like, I know they have more losses, but it's actually, all things considered, not been a horrible, horrible year for the Raiders. But it's the little things that are killing them. It's these little decisions. It's little penalties. It's a thing here and there. And it's just like, you can't keep making this many small mistakes and expect to win. And I called it, by the way. I just want to say, The Raiders quarterback Derek Carr is having a fairly good year. Going into the year, I made a topic in a video about every single quarterback before the season started. And my kind of topic of conversation for Derek Carr was he's going to have a pretty good year and probably still not make the playoffs. Well, he had 2 more touchdowns on Monday night, 0 turnovers, and they're still losing. Derek Carr, I said he's going to have a good year and probably still not make the playoffs, and that's exactly what's likely going to happen. The Raiders are in bad shape. They play Houston next week. Houston is a bad football team. It's a great opportunity for the Raiders to get a second win of the year and try to get back on track. But can you imagine? I can, unfortunately. I can see a reality where the Raiders find a way to lose in the last second to Davis Mills and the Houston Texans. Can you imagine if they lose that game? They start 1-5. Week 6, they lose to Houston. They'd better win next week. Like, the Raiders cannot afford to lose next week at Houston. I feel like they haven't been able to afford to lose for 2 weeks in a row now. But they still have found, it's just like, oh my gosh. The way they lost to Kansas City was extra painful because it was all the little mistakes. You hold on a field goal that Kansas City missed. You leave Travis Kelce wide open on the bazillionth touchdown for him on the goal line against the Raiders. You go for 2 and make an unforced error for some reason and make your life even more difficult. I don't know. Basically, the only other thing worth talking about from this game, other than, you effusively praised Patrick Mahomes, and he made this throw. I want to kind of collect some of the best throws of the year and put them all in some video or something, but he steps up and flicks the ball forward somehow with half a throwing motion to Marquez Valdes-Scantling for a first down, and you're like, I don't know how he did that. About every game, Mahomes makes some kind of throw where you're like, I don't know how he did that. Now, there was a really bad roughing the passer penalty on Chris Jones. He sacked Derek Carr. Derek Carr fumbled. Chris Jones landed on him with his body weight, which you're not supposed to do that, but I don't know what you do. You can't even sneeze on a quarterback, which that's a whole loaded conversation, maybe. I shouldn't say it that way. But you have to be so careful with quarterbacks today. It's ridiculous. I played quarterback in college. You would think I'd be defending quarterbacks, but I don't. I just feel bad for defenders. I don't know what you do. I don't know how you tackle a quarterback or even get near a quarterback anymore. It's not a new thing for the NFL to have stupid roughing the passer calls. It's been going on for a while now, but this one was extra ridiculous. It was a play where he sacked Derek Carr. The ball comes out. It's a fumble. He recovers the fumble, and they call a penalty for some reason, and it extends the drive for the Raiders. There's a simple solution here. The NFL needs to make it so that you can review roughing the passer calls, very similar to the way you can targeting. I think of college football, they review targeting in a very good way, and I sometimes it gets overturned and called off, sometimes it gets confirmed. I like it. But make the NFL look at a replay. Make the refs, I wish they'd had to look at a replay of that call last night, so that even if they still call it roughing the passer, like I saw a ref today defending the ref somehow, some NFL official was like, that's the right call. Okay, but then you better look at it, because if you're going to double down on that being a penalty, I want you to at least have to look at it again and really, truly sit in that decision, because that's pretty absurd to call that roughing the passer. If you're going to make that a penalty, you have to at least review it and double down, so you have to own and admit the silliness of the rules that are currently in place in the NFL. I feel so bad for anyone playing defense in the NFL. Why would you play defense, man? You play a receiver or a quarterback if you're playing football, or offensive line if you're too big, but I would rather play tight end than offensive line. I'd do anything I could to play a receiving position, because defenders just get shortchanged, man. Some guys want to hit people, and I get it, but that's such a hard job. Playing corner in the NFL, playing defense in the NFL, it's just getting harder and harder. And if you're in high school picking positions, dude, play receiver. Anything you can do. You make more money, your life is easier, the rules are slanted to help you. I would not want to play defense in the NFL. It's just so infuriating sometimes to watch some of the calls that are made, and I feel bad for defensive players. By the way, Raiders tight end Darren Waller left the game early with a hamstring injury. He's not done nothing this year, but Darren Waller is a guy who wants a new contract. And for someone who wants to get paid a lot of money, he's done very little this year. He's got 1 touchdown catch. In my opinion, 5 games into the year, Darren Waller has not done anything to earn a big new contract extension. And I'm a little bit like kind of looking at Darren Waller with a side eye going like, okay, you want the big contract, but the production just isn't following you.